Hello and welcome to another episode of Kick-Ass Brand Show. I'm Andrei Mincov, the founder of Trademark Factory, and today I bring you Ken Achenbach, a former pro snowboarder, a professional photographer, filmmaker, a traveler, and a longtime GoPro evangelist. He is the perfect example of blending business with lifestyle. Ken's best known brand is Pro Standard. It offers a whole variety of innovative GoPro mounts and accessories. And as you're about to find out, he has invented a whole truckload of things that became household names in both snowboarding and GoPro accessories industries. But the really great part of this episode is where Ken shared the secret to his success in 3 actionable steps. It's the episode you definitely don't want to miss. Well, welcome, Ken.
Welcome.
It's great to have you.
Good to be here.
Thanks for agreeing to do the show. And,
no worries. My pleasure.
You have some pretty cool stories from what you told me, and I'm really looking forward to you sharing those stories with the audience.
Oh, my pleasure.
Because we're all about telling the world about great brands, the kick-ass brands.
Well, and the cool things that come from trademarking your kick-ass brands.
That's a part of the story, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So I know you're on quite a bit of businesses, you do quite a bit of brands. So when somebody asks you in an elevator, like, what do you do? What's the go-to one?
I usually just say I'm a snowboarder.
Okay.
Start with, all my stuff basically came from snowboarding and being a photographer and being a filmmaker and being a pro snowboarder. All these things it all just kind of wrapped into one thing. So I just say I'm a snowboarder.
Okay. Why don't we start with the story then?
Well, I started snowboarding in 1980 and then had so much fun I bought 6 more boards from Tom Sims in California and then opened the first snowboard store in the world that was an exclusive snowboard store.
Really?
And trademarked that back in the old days when it was like $20,000 and took 3 years. And it was a pain in the ass instead of this way. And that was a blatant product.
We weren't there yet.
But so I opened the snowboard shop, and we called it the snowboard shop because when you're first, you can name it anything. So we called it the snowboard shop. And then from that, I reinvented snowboards because back then they were just basically pieces of plywood with rubber straps. And every time you went riding, you wanted something better. So you're always thinking about different things. And I think that's where my whole looking at things in a way where I see what's missing or I see what could be better or how I could change something to make it work different or whatever. Because, back then when you snowboarded, stuff would always break and the boards weren't that great. And, for the time they were awesome. And,
right.
But you wanted to make them better every single time you went snowboarding. And then, that evolved into shooting photos and taking, back then there wasn't really video, but taking photos. And then when video cameras kind of came out, I made my first video. And then we invented the twin tip snowboard, which was the basis of basically every modern snowboard out there now. And we never trademarked or patented that because we just wanted better snowboards. And now everybody uses that sort of as the DNA for their snowboards, which is kind of cool.
Did you also make them, or do you just come up with ideas?
We made them. Me and my friend Neil DeFern made them. Neil did a lot of the design, and we did it all together. And then we made them in the back of the snowboard shop, and then shipped them around the world. And it was just like this amazing thing. It was just changed everything. Like there was boards from before and then there's boards after it, and it's just like a line. Like it made everything junk from before it and made everything possible for the future. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then we ended up having a store in Banff and a store in Mammoth and 2 stores in New Zealand. And then I used to sell my clothes to Europe and to Japan. Because back then, there wasn't really snowboard clothes. So if you wanted something, you made it yourself. So we made snowboard clothes and we made gloves and sweaters and, basically everything.
You created the industry.
No. We did, I just had a store, and I mean, Burton was there, and Sims and Barfoot and all that stuff. But it's like wasn't stuff. So it's like, and being from Canada, it's colder here, and you'd get all this stuff from California, and it wouldn't be warm enough, or they'd make their stuff out of UHMW or low density UHMW, which as soon as it got cold would break. I remember Avalanche Snowboards funding us up, going, "What do you guys do up there? You break all their stuff." I'm like, "It's cold here. It breaks itself." You're from Moscow, so it's like there's cold and then there's Moscow cold, and minus 40 is way different from minus 2 in California. So we broke a lot of stuff, and then we ended up making our own bindings, and then I invented the baseless binding, which was the first binding where the sides of the binding were free floating so that the flex of the board would stay complete. And that evolved into Burton's EST system, which is pretty much the go-to binding right now. And then went snowboarding a bunch, and then made snowboard movies and shot for the magazines, and had a team of pros for the snowboard shop that basically traveled around the world promoting snowboarding and promoting the shop and just basically having fun. So I'd go shoot photos with them, and that's sort of where, when GoPros came out, because I'd been shooting photos and videos for so long, I knew what framing was about, and I knew what you could do by changing little things to get a better shot. And, the GoPros are the most amazing camera ever. So when, they came out, it was like, oh yeah, this is great, but dealing with this little screw sucks, because you have to unscrew this every time to change it, and things like that. So then we started thinking of a new system, or I started thinking of a new system where you could just basically take it off and change it from mount to mount, and just, in a split second, just change it and move it. Wow. And put it, the biggest one is like, depending on your mount, changing it or changing the angle, so that depending on what you want to shoot, you can frame the picture any way you want, which is something you've never been able to do really with a GoPro. I mean, they just started coming out with a few rotational mounts, but this one is more of a whole system where, depending on what mount you have, there's always a feature on it that makes the mount you have better. So for example, if you have a GoPro mount that rotates, this one's got the quick release, and if you have one that doesn't rotate, it has both. So no matter what you do, it makes for a better experience with your GoPro, where you can change the mounts quicker, you can frame it up how you want it, and it just makes a huge difference to the whole, the whole video that you get or photos that you get. So that's sort of how it just sort of evolved into that.
So let me ask you a question. So when you were inventing all this stuff, if you were to kind of break it down mentally in terms of percentages, what percentage of the reason for you inventing all this was you wanted to use your stuff?
100%.
And how much of it was like, we're building some really cool business around this?
Oh, I never thought once about the business.
Really?
Never once. No, I just wanted better stuff. No flies on our stuff. I just wanted better stuff, and then the business thing was the secondary thought. Like when I started my store, it was totally by accident. I was like, okay, this is super fun. More people would want to do this. So I bought 6 boards and thought I'd sell them to ski shops and stuff, and nobody wanted it. So I had 6 boards and I had to sell myself. So I started a snowboard store, and then it just sort of evolved into that. And then we had this amazing team of pro riders that just, slayed it. That, we had the first cover of Transworld and the third cover, and, we had more pictures inside. My shop team had more pictures inside than just about all the brands. So it was, maybe I should have thought more about the business thing and pimped it out a little bit. It's like all I ever cared about was snowboarding. So
how'd you get media's attention? Because I mean, when you're local, you get the attention. You're the only store, right? It's easy. But did you get people to talk about you outside of where the store was and outside of where
Well, snowboarding was pretty small back then. So if you saw somebody snowboarding, you'd just stop and go, wow. And, we were the only place to get a snowboard for probably 5 years. So, like half of my best friends are still my first customers. It's
you couldn't just do Amazon Prime.
Amazon's, Amazon's it now. I'd hate to own a retail store now, but it's, back then you'd meet people on the hill or they'd whatever. And, oh my God, you snowboard. Can I buy a snowboard? And then, nobody had boards back then. So, yeah, it'll be in the middle of next week, and it'd be like a month later when you get a board. And so when we made boards, that was part of it. We just couldn't get boards, so we made them ourselves. And I just sort of evolved into everything. And being, Neil and I were both kind of the guys who were never happy with what we had and wanted something better, and so we just made something better.
This is awesome. So, so I see on one of your packagings, so the Get Stoked.
Yeah, you guys trademarked that one.
We did that. We did Pro Standard, but how do you play around all these brands? Because again, this is something I'm always wondering when a company or an entrepreneur has multiple brands. How do you juggle them? And
I juggle horribly. I'm too fixated on one thing or the other. Like like Snowboard Shop turned into the Campy Champions, and then then that sort of faded out, and then Pro Standard came, and it's luckily I had a really good staff with Campy Champions and a really good staff with the shop. So I just sort of be that guy that thinks stuff up, and with Pro Standard it's basically a one-man band. I mean, we started, I had a couple of partners that didn't quite work out that great. Now I've got it, it's me, and then I've got an engineer, Craig Gold, who's just amazing. Like, he came up with the formula for our plastic that's the highest quality plastic in the industry by a mile. We call it Holy Carbonate, because when we got the first parts from China and we got to test them, we were trying to break them and we couldn't, and it was like that Batman moment. It's like, holy carbonate, Batman! You're like, you can't break it, and it's like, hey, that's a good name for it. So then, the best names are the ones you come up with as a laugh. So this one we call the grill mount because it's GoPro mount for like this, but you can also hold it in your hand. You can hang it off things. You can do all kinds of different things with it, because that's what we saw was part of the problem with GoPro stuff, is that it's so specialized that each mount was only good for one thing. So you have this amazing tiny little camera, but you have this giant bag of stuff because you want to do different things with it. So my whole goal with Pro Standard was to make a super multifunctional pieces, so that when, for example, you go do something, you only need to take one or two things instead of this giant bag of stuff for the world's smallest camera. And this thing, it's people would just freak out because you can use it so many ways that it turns into the GoPro mount that lives on your camera. Like, you can carry your GoPro with one finger, which no other mount can do that. Or you can hold it like this or in your mouth, and these are heat moldable, so it works like a mouth guard, so you don't get concussions if you slam. And it stays locked in your mouth better, so you don't have to bite it as hard. And the best thing is you can talk with it in your mouth. So the new GoPro has, GoPro take a photo. So if you're surfing or whatever, you can just have it in and then just get the best parts of the session by saying that. And then, for example, this one is an under visor mount, which, pretend this is a helmet. It sticks up under here. So you can put your GoPro under here instead of it sticking out on top. Right. So one, it's way more low key, but this one with it up under here, if you race BMX or mountain biking, UCI, the sanctioning body for biking, you're not allowed to have an on-helmet camera because it's dangerous, they say. Well, Michael Schumacher will agree with that one, but
by having it more dangerous to have it right near the eye, though?
No, it's not. It's. I mean, on a baseball hat, it looks like it's right in front of your eye, but it basically sits right above your eye, in line with your eyes. So when you actually get your footage, it's the most stable because it's right in the center of your head. It's close to the pivot point of your head and neck, because your head's a 3-axis gimbal. Yeah. So by putting it there, it's super stable, and it's the closest view you'll get to what you actually saw. So the feel of the video is better than anything else, which is, coming from being a pro snowboarder, and then, the people we sponsor, pro skiers and pro surfers and snowboarders and mountain bikers and stuff, they make their money by having great footage. And if they have bouncy, crappy footage, no one's going to buy it or no one's going to promote it. So it's like, that's sort of the drive for making this stuff. And, it took me it took me 2 years longer than I thought to actually get it to the point where we could sell it. But, coming from snowboarding, when you for example, you release a video, it has to be the best video you could possibly make it, because otherwise all your friends are going to go, dude, your video sucked. What was up with that? You had all that time and you sucked. Yeah. So, and that was sort of the same thing with Pro Standard, is you wanted to have, you have that pride in your stuff because your friends are going to burn you if it sucks. And then the other part is, the people that we have promoting it go to amazing lengths to do insane things, and I'd hate to be the person that lets them down when it matters. And that's why we came up with our own plastic compound, because I mean, this was amazing, but we broke a few of them. Users would break them by slamming into the ground or whatever. And so we're like, hey, we got to make these stronger because these people went to, like the deepest, darkest depths of whatever to get amazing footage, and we let them down. So it was like, I took that super personally because it's like, I've been on the receiving end of breaking stuff when you've gone to this great expense and effort to get somewhere.
Yeah.
And then get let down and you're just like,
now what?
oh, you can hear the swear words echoing across the mountains. And so that was the same thing with this. So that's why, we basically worked out our own holy carbonate so that we wouldn't let our customers down. And, and that's part of our customer service. Like, all our stuff has a lifetime warranty. So if you ever break it, just send it back. Or you don't even have to send it back. Just send us a photo of it and we'll send you a new one. Because that's our whole thing.
Does GoPro know about you?
Yeah, they really liked it. He just got let go in their last bloodletting, I guess is the only way to describe it. But the head of global training and education called the grill mount the best GoPro mount ever made. He says it's the single best mount ever made for a GoPro, which is pretty fantastic.
Are you guys competing or you're complimenting them?
I don't see us as competing. I see it as complimenting, because the way I look at it is we make the GoPro experience better. And I mean, and GoPro's really cool too. I mean, they're super down with us. They've supported us the whole time. I mean, they could have made a mouth mount and they didn't, things like that. So it's been really, they've been a great company to deal with, and they make such an amazing product that, once you start using a GoPro, you just, I used to be a professional photographer. I got $20,000 worth of camera gear that I basically use now for shooting product shots. It's like I can't even remember the last time I actually used it to shoot action. It's a game changer.
As you know, I'm a drummer.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I saw one video of I think it was Mark Miniman. Like, he used a bunch of GoPro cameras. And just played some crazy stuff. Like, wow, this is really good.
Yeah.
So I can't even imagine where he put everything, because there had to be a lot of mounts there.
Yeah. Well, no, and that's sort of the cool thing with 360 Quick Connect is you can put them and then adjust the framing of the camera, so you don't actually, like with most GoPro mounts, for example, like this one, you clamp it on something and then the camera's stuck on that angle. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if you're setting up cameras on a roll bar in a race car, if the roll bar is like this, but you want the shot over here, you have to put a lot of different bits and pieces to get the camera to position right. Whereas this, you just put our 360 Quick Connect on it. Like, the pieces are all designed to fit all the GoPro mounts that you already have, instead of, coming up with a whole new system. Like, this is GoPro's Quick Connect system, where you have this cleat mount and you just, throw this in. And then ours has this rubber stopper just like there, so that it doesn't vibrate.
Yeah.
But now you just leave this on your mount all the time, and then you can take this. So if, like, you're hanging it off the roll bar and you want to shoot the driver, it doesn't matter what angle the roll bar is at, because then you can turn the camera to get the exact angle that you want. So one, it gets rid of a lot of junk, and it's cleaner, and it's more stable, and because it's made of holy carbonate, it won't break. But you can put them, and then because it's so durable, you can put them in a lot more places and do a lot more things. That's next. As soon as we sell enough, I gotta pay for that other one first. Yeah, no, I mean, and coming to your end, it's like, like you were saying with Amazon, it's like, we sell it on Amazon, and we did really good at first, and then a Chinese knockoff came on, and for 2 years I was trying to get them to take this knockoff down. They were using our trademark name, they were using our copyrighted photos, they were using our patented, they basically were just ripping us off blind.
Yeah.
And selling it for a third of what ours was, because they, it wasn't a good plastic, it wasn't a good, it wasn't food safe EVA like ours, it wasn't a food safe plastic. Mm-hmm. And they didn't have all the development costs and, the super fantastic trademark costs that were cheap, but they still add up. But you know what I mean, right? Like, they didn't have to do anything, and so they were selling it for a third of what ours was, and our sales basically went to zero on Amazon.
Basically,
they killed us. They kill us.
They steal your business, and they ruin your reputation all at the same
time.
Oh,
totally. And put us out, and basically almost put us out of business. And then finally, in the end, I had to call out Amazon on Facebook, which to me was really sad, because here's Amazon, this huge company.
So you tried writing to them?
Yeah, I've been talking to them for 2 years. Like, hey, what can we do about this? Here's my patents. Here's my trademark. They're using my copyright photos. They're using my taglines, like straight up ripping us off.
Yeah.
How can this still be on Amazon? If this is what it is, you might as well just change your name to Alibaba. And, you know, I got nothing. And then finally, I just called them out on Facebook and said, hey, you guys are supposed to be this great company for inspiring business to grow, and you hide all your tax dollars in Ireland, and you're putting companies that create things out of business by letting knockoff products on Amazon. And for 2 years, I've been trying to get you to take this product down, and you basically put us out of business. WTF, right? And hashtag Amazon, @Amazon. And crazily enough, within 15 minutes, someone from Amazon posted up and said, we'll call you. And then 2 days later, the product was down. And it's just like, why did I have to go to that great lengths to make a company like Amazon look bad when I didn't want to make them look bad, but they were making me look bad?
Yeah.
You know, where's the customer service thing there? I mean, the customer service is really good, but it's like, why did I have to go to that lengths to do something that they should do automatically when someone says, hey, you're infringing on our trademark?
Well, yeah, they're supposed to have all those processes, and they do have them. It just
but they you know,
forever.
I get, well, or they just, you know, they say they care or they don't. I don't know what it is, but it was, so it was pretty awesome that it came down, because it took us from basically selling nothing to it becoming an actual business where it actually can go forward and make new products and all that stuff. So, you know, trademarks are important. Like, I mean, you know, you sell them. Or make them, you know, trade them.
No, you make them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Cool. So it was the dive, and then just
and now we sell more mounts than we've ever sold. It's unbelievable. Like, and I mean, the Amazon thing is ridiculous. Like, we used to sell to probably 40 stores, 50 stores, and then we have distribution in Australia, Japan, and we just signed with the Australia GoPro distribute us in Australia, and Streamcast Asia, which is the GoPro distributor for Southeast Asia, which is 15 countries and 1,500 stores. They picked us up, and so we'll be starting that pretty soon. And then we're talking to a couple companies in Europe. So I mean, we could be in 50 countries by Christmas, which is pretty amazing. Like, you know, for something that I just wanted a mount to hold my camera with is pretty amazing.
Look,
but it's a lot more work than you ever think it's going to be. But, you know, if you go in knowing that it's going to be a lot of work and you're happy to do the work, it doesn't matter. You know, it is what it is.
I think you are a perfect example of really what this show is about, because you come up with a great idea, you make that idea into reality, and you put a brand around this, and you make the brand work for you.
It's like my buddy Steve Matthews always says. He goes, dude, that's what I love about you. You pretend something's real, and then the next thing you know, it is real. And you know, that is really what business is you have an idea and you pretend it's real until it is, or until you realize it's not going to work and then you think of something else. But
so I'm sure you follow your analytics, how people find you, and do most people search the brand, or do they search something generic and then they find out about you?
It's pretty even. It's funny. Like, I've always, been kind of shy about promoting myself, because I'm like, I'm just a snowboarder, like whatever, like low self-esteem or whatever you want to call it. Just, I always thought it was, it wasn't about me. It was about the product. And then with Pro Standard, I realized that I have to suck it up and market myself, because I'm what's making this so great. It's my 35 years of being a photographer, my 35 years of being a pro snowboarder, my 35 years of making movies, and my 35 years of making stuff up. So it's like, well, I have to kind of sell myself. So that's been a bit of I still get self-conscious about it and stuff, but it's like, that's what makes my product great. So that's what I have to do, and it makes you grow. So it's,
So if somebody needs the best mount for GoPro, how do they find it? Do they go to a website? Do they go to Amazon? Do they go to Facebook? Well, what's the best way to find you?
We're on all of them. I mean, Amazon, if you want free shipping and you want it tomorrow, that's the best one for sure. And I mean, the other thing, the reason I started Pro Standard is because I wanted something to do that would give me more time to play with my kids and go snowboarding too.
Okay.
And it's funny, Kaya, my daughter, when I was coming up with the grill mount and I was showing her this, she goes, she's playing roller derby, and she's like, hey, Dad, why don't you make these heat moldable like a mouth guard. And I'm like, oh, that's a great idea, Kaya. And so that's what made these heat moldable. So it's like,
I'm paying her royalties.
no, she wrote a little piece of paper. You owe me 50 cents, Dad. So, she's tough, but a good negotiator. But no, and it's funny because, I just saw myself as the guy sitting in front of the computer all the time. It's like, oh, man, how am I inspiring my kids with this? And then, what you see of yourself and then what other people see is remarkably different when you actually step back and look at it. Like my daughter's inspired by science now, and she wants to, be an astronaut and wants to be, do all these cool things that she might not have thought of if she hadn't seen 3D printing and stuff like that. Like she broke the first prototype and she was in tears. And I'm like, no, you're supposed to break this stuff. Like you can't make it better until you break it. And she was 8 at the time. And after that, she was so proud. And it's like, how many 8-year-olds know about 3D printing and prototyping and, giving design ideas and all this stuff. And it's like, wow, that's kind of cool. It's like I just saw myself as sitting in front of a computer, but my daughter saw me as this mad scientist thinking up something cool that she could play with. So, it's pretty amazing. And so that's where Amazon came in. And so, I started selling on Amazon, and now I sell probably 95% of our stuff on Amazon. And you can buy it from prostandard.com, and nice packaging. Like our packaging is takeout food boxes because I wanted a box that was super light, and the whole eco footprint of everything we do is so ridiculous. Like it's mind blowing. And so having been in Bali and you see plastic floating through the water in this beautiful place, the last thing you want to do is add to that. So we have plastic in our stuff, but we try to have biodegradable or compostable plastic, and all our paper's recycled and things like that. And it's and you show kids that you can do it. And I mean, it costs a bit more, but you got to put your money where your mouth is, because it's not going to clean up itself. And if you add to the dirt pile, well, you shouldn't have made it in the first place. So we try to be as green as we can with it. And so that's where our box came in. It's like you get these things from Amazon, and it's this big corrugated box, and you're like, dude, you don't need that, right? And so, sitting around eating Chinese food one night, working on something, and I was like, hey, this box is pretty awesome. And so now, and it's so light that we can actually ship 2 products in one box for the same price through Canada Post. Huh. And they're strong enough to keep from getting crushed. And it's amazing because they're all recycled and eco-friendly. So, the long tail is, because it's a lighter box, you don't need as much fuel to drive it around, and it's pretty cool. But it makes me laugh every time we box one up. And the joke was, it's like, well, our stuff comes from China and it's food grade plastic, so why not send it in a food box? There
you go.
And it's funny. So I mean, it's the fun part about having a brand is thinking up all the little things that. I think back to snowboarding, when you get a snowboard from a company and it'd have a cool print on the box, it'd make you stoked. So it's like, I always think of that stuff when I'm thinking about how people are going to get my product. And so it's like our stuff comes in boxes. So there's like the bit of excitement opening the box, and then just like little funny things that make you laugh. Like on the bottom of our box, it says, Pro Standard, made in China, like everything else. We like to have, you can tell by my LibTech hat, it's like, we like to have fun with our brand, because it's like, it's our brand and we like to have fun. So why wouldn't you have fun with it? We're not very serious, but we're serious about making cool stuff, but we're more serious about having fun. So
in a way, you kind of stumbled across your success in a lot of ways.
Story of my life right there.
But still, you got there. So I'd like you to share 2 tips with the audience. One is something that you think is important to help them build a great brand, and 2, how to build a great business around that brand.
Oh man, you're asking me about building a great business? I haven't even figured that one out yet. I think the biggest one is you have to believe in yourself, because no one else is going to, and you have to be willing to work really, really hard. I mean, it's like, there's no 2 ways about it, because no one's going to work harder than you. No one believes in your stuff more than you. So no one's going to work harder than you. And unless you work really hard, it's usually not going to happen. I mean, I've been at the right place at the right time a few times, like snowboarding and stuff like that. But I mean, I still worked really hard at making it happen. And I mean, snowboarding, for example, like you couldn't give a snowboard away. So we went, oh, well, we have to get more ski resorts open. So I spent all these years basically getting the ski resorts to let snowboarders on, and now snowboarding's everywhere, which is pretty cool. And then when you look at the stats, like Transworld Snowboard Magazine, the biggest magazine in the industry, did a survey of the average age of snowboarders, and the average age of snowboarders across North America, Alberta had the oldest snowboarders by 5 years, and it's all because of my shop, because that's where it started. So it's, it's when you can see what you've done in the stats, it's pretty amazing. So you got to work hard. And I mean, in the old days, I was, you just do stuff for the good of humanity that does your sport or whatever. But nowadays, you can't live without a trademark. And so that's kind of where we're coming from with, that's why we call it Pro Standard, because it's the pro standard of GoPro mounts.
This is awesome, man.
Thanks.
So, look, thanks for coming and sharing all this.
Oh, no worries.
I think there's some super valuable stuff around the story, around how you use the circumstances to, and really what you love to do to build what's awesome today and what will be even more awesome tomorrow. So,
yeah, well, I mean, I always laugh. It's amazing how hard you'll work to not work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I only worked 20 hours a day today. I must have been slacking.
Well, there's a lot of fun in this.
Yeah, it totally is.
Yours.
Yeah, well, and it's your own thing. And when you can work as hard as you want to work and have as much fun as you can have, don't be married. Because you're not going to be at the end of it.
Well.
But they don't stick around when you're working. They didn't love you in the first place. But it's the fun of and the adventure of creating something from nothing, and then going through the whole process of making something and getting it out, and then seeing it in use. Like, we went to Spain for a surf contest, the WSL. We were supplying them with grill mounts, and we went surfing in Mundaka, this place in Spain, and we'd been out for like 2 months, and we see this guy in the water, and he's got one, and I'm like, sick! Just like the first time you see it, when it's not one of your friends, it's just mind blowing. And then I ran into a friend of mine the other day, and he'd been in Australia, and he was surfing in North Narrabeen, and saw guys with grill mounts, and he was talking about it, and they're like, where are you from? He's like, oh, I'm from Whistler. Do you know Ken? So it was just like this really funny thing. It's like, I think of it as Pro Standard, and they were thinking of it as me. So it was, like you were saying, that question on search. It's like, sometimes they search my name, sometimes they search Pro Standard, sometimes they search grill mount or mouth mount for GoPros and things like that. So it's weird how it all just sort of comes together and, just turns into this thing that everything you do influences where it ends up. And, it's why you can't be a dick, because it all comes around, and everybody knows everything nowadays.
This is basically a variation of one of my favorite music stories. So Sting had this...
The doorman! He's a doorman! No, he's a bellboy!
So he had an interview in 1986, like the old, very old video, and they just, toured. And he's being asked, when did he realize he was a superstar? And he says, I was in my hotel room, and there was a window washer on the other side. He was washing the window and singing Roxanne. And he's like, that's when I realized that actually, it's outside the friends and family. It's like, it's real.
Yeah. Oh, the first time you see it, it's totally mind blowing. Like,
it's very, very similar to what you said.
Well, and
that's my stuff.
Well, the funny part was, and then the smallness of the universe. He's like, yeah, it's out in the wild, blah blah blah. And then like an hour later, we got an email from a guy who broke one. And, I email him back, oh yeah, give me your address and we'll send you a replacement. Sorry for the hassle. And he emails me back from Spain. And I'm like, oh, look up his address. And it's only like 20K from where we were. And so we're like, let's just drop it off. And so we drive to this guy's house, and it turns out it's his restaurant. And the guy just like loses his shit, because like the owner just rolls up with, hey, here's your replacement. Sorry for the hassle. And he's just like, what the? And then in the smallness of the universe, it turns out he was a snowboarder that lived in Whistler. And it's just like, you got to be kidding me. All my friends. And here we are in Basque Country in Spain, 10,000 miles from Whistler, yet the Whistler vibe permeates everything. So it's pretty funny. So every once in a while, like, if I'm somewhere and somebody orders and I'm going somewhere, I'll hand deliver it just to freak people out. It's like, oh, here's your order, man. Like, I dropped one off last week in Kelowna, and it was just like, or I was in California and dropped one off with, Anthony Napolitan, this pro BMX guy, and he's turned into one of our biggest users in BMX. And it was, I don't know if it's because we dropped it off in person or because he really likes it or whatever, but it was just like, when you can get the chance to make a connection with your customers, you have to take it.
Yeah.
And it's good for a laugh too. He's like, what? So, I'll do pretty much anything for a laugh. So that was my favorite one.
So let me summarize the interview. You said, don't be a dick, have fun, protect your shit.
Pretty much. and actually, the good part is if you protect your shit, you don't have to be a dick.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's all connected. Everything you do comes around. So be nice.
Cool. Look,
and hire your friends.
Really?
I would. I mean, it's how we hired you. It's like, I read in business school all the time, don't hire your friends. But it's like, hire your friends. Ride each other's coattails to success. That's snowboarding in a nutshell. It's like I wouldn't be where I was if I hadn't ridden my friends' coattails, and they wouldn't be where they were if they hadn't ridden my coattails. And it's like everybody working together to make something amazing makes for something amazing. But if everybody's just out for themselves and, like, I'm not going to hire him, it changes the vibe of things. And it's like, that's my one. It's like, hire your friends because they've got your back, and they'll work harder for cheap. Just kidding.
Cool. Look, thanks again.
My pleasure, man.
I think it was a great episode, and I can't wait for you to see it.
Yeah, I'll share it around.
Cheers, man.
Awesome. My pleasure. That was fun.
Ken and I would love to hear from you. Aside from the laughs and giggles, did you learn anything valuable? What's the one thing you're going to do to apply what you learned in your business? So leave your comment below and share this interview with your friends. And make sure you subscribe to be the first to receive updates about new episodes. And if you think you deserve to be on the show because you have a kick-ass brand, email me at next@kickassbrandshow.com. next@kickassbrandshow.com. I'll see you there.